Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, October 26th, 2021. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. While some persons are enthused at the colorful flags decorating capital Kingstown in commemoration of SVG's 42nd anniversary of independence, which will be observed tomorrow, Wednesday, October 27th, 2021, they say they are not feeling the celebratory mood. However, they understand why the celebration activities this year, like last year, had to be scaled down and low-key.
I'm here 35 years. And I like now seeing everybody with independent clothes. Now you ain't seeing nobody. One person to the Friday. I don't make how much dresses, I don't make one yet. Independent dead system.
First independent we better. Nowadays independent like independent first.
What used to be independence like for you?
We used to get more fun. Everything maybe some be better. But now, we can't independent to me.
We used to get more fun and bring out them kids and things and whatnot and so. But no, you can't do that now.
Well, I see a lot of the decorations. It looks really awesome. Yeah. Like in the bank, and almost everywhere. I like seeing it.
The people our news team spoke with are particularly concerned about protecting themselves against COVID-19, which has been affecting lives and livelihoods since March last year.
We have to protect ourselves good. Because it's not easy and we are diabetic again, so I have to take care of myself good now.
So you double masking?
Yes, please.
This is my local. I just love my local. I believe me local.
Okay.
I keep myself safe and keep my family safe.
Despite the scaled-down celebration activities, memorabilia are reportedly still in high demand as Vincentians continue to maintain their national pride.
The items that are on demand right now, like t-shirts, souvenir items, because there are a lot of travelers that are coming in and out of the country. Mostly t-shirts for school children, flags, key rings, anything souvenir type that has SVG on it is basically what's selling right now with our consumers. There's a high demand for a lot of independence items right now, so things are very busy at the moment. So a lot of people are still celebrating, they're going about as per usual. They need to send back to families who are unable to travel. They need for themselves as well, even though they're staying at home. But you know, the celebration I think is an important thing to them. Independence is an important aspect of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And the Carnival Development Corporation will commemorate the country's 42nd anniversary of independence with a series of activities virtually. Cultural ambassador and member of the CDC, Rodney Small, told SVGTV News in a telephone interview today that with all the challenges facing the country, the CDC is giving persons hope and something to look forward to while celebrating SVG's anniversary of independence.
Having a series of activities celebrating Independence Month, which we are collaborating with the Independence Committee. Tomorrow, Independence morning, we'll be having an event called Pan in the Garden, which will be featuring steel pan players from all across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with a twist of preserving our bush culture, our bush plant herbs culture, and mixing it with some entertainment, which we dub as edu entertainment, to help to promote and bring information about some of the uses of some of our plants, our seeds, our herbs, and while bringing some live entertainment, a tribute to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where we'll be featuring a lot of local music, and that would be from 10 a.m. Independence morning, following the Prime Minister's address to the nation, and that would be viewed on all social media platforms, and it's a virtual event.
On the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, there will be other events which Small said will be educational and entertaining.
On Saturday, there would be a premiere of a performing documentary that would be hosted by the CDC called 7921, It Strikes Again, which highlights the 2 cancellation dates of Carnival because of the eruption of the volcano, which would be hosted by the CDC and VC3. That would happen at 8 p.m. on Saturday. And on Sunday, there's a virtual event that calls Vinci Essence, that would be featuring a lot of different performers from the different creative and cultural industry sectors, from dance, music, drama, you name it, art and everything. And that would begin at 7 p.m. on Sunday. And then there's the last event on Sunday that is called Freedom of Worship. That will be hosted from NLA Song, Junior Mason LA Song, which is a gospel event that will be featuring a lot of local gospel artists, which is a music show that would help to bring an uplifting vibe to our nation.
The cultural ambassador said every Vincentian should take the opportunity to be part of the independence celebrations and show their national pride, even if the activities are being held virtually.
I'd like to encourage persons to utilize the virtual space, both social media, YouTube, and of course SVG-TV, VC3, and all of the other streaming platforms. And let's just see how much we can encourage our practitioners and all the events by tuning in. You know what I mean? A lot of these events are based on a lot of information, a lot of our culture, a lot of our information on our culture and our history. So I would just want to invite persons to, you know what I mean, get the family, get the kids in particular, and let's promote Vincentian culture. Of course, I would like to say happy 42nd independence to all Vincentians right here in St. Vincent and the diaspora. And remember, no man is an island and no man stand alone. And we must live in love and unity. Love you, SVG.
As citizens celebrate the nation's 42nd anniversary of independence, the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force advises everyone to continue to comply with the various rules and protocols that have been implemented by the government to reduce and contain the spread of the coronavirus. These protocols include the recommendations for the managed conduct of mass gatherings with or without amplified music issued by the Health Services Subcommittee of the National Emergency Committee or COVID-19 Task Force and the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment. The RSVG Police Force encourages citizens to exercise restraint and stay at home as far as possible over the extended holiday weekend, noting that if you must leave your home for any reason, wear a mask or face covering, practice social or physical distancing, sanitize your hands or wash them regularly with soap. Omnibus operators are also reminded to adhere to the protocols that are in place for drivers, conductors and passengers. These include being fully vaccinated or having a negative COVID-19 test result, wearing face masks, carrying the legally acceptable number of passengers. Commuters are also advised to drive with due care and attention, with consideration for other road users, not to consume too much alcohol that may blur your vision and impede your judgment and control of your motor vehicle. The force says officers will conduct patrols island-wide to ensure the following: no playing of amplified music in public or private places without authorization from the Commission of Police, no mass gatherings of persons on beaches or other social events, including river cooks, picnics, etc. Social and physical distances is being practiced. Motorists and commuters are adhering to the protocols with regards to public transportation and the number of passengers riding in omnibuses. No boat rides and or excursions. Quarantined persons remain at their designated places of confinement. The force also wants the public to know that it did not grant permission for the playing of amplified music or the hosting of any event that is not in keeping with the national COVID-19 rules and protocols, and thank everyone for their cooperation and support in working hand in hand towards the maintenance of the health, safety and security of SVG. Given the time span between eruptions of the La Soufrière volcano, which has become shorter, one of the lead scientists currently monitoring the volcano, Professor Richard Robertson, said that persons living in the red zone need to be better informed and constantly prepared to deal with hazards. Delivering this year's Independence Lecture virtually last evening, Professor of Geology and one of the lead monitoring scientists said that an investment is needed by government to reduce underlying risk of the volcano. The Sir Dwight Venner Independence Memorial Lecture was on the topic navigating the disaster risk landscape in an independent St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The studies that we have done and the understanding that we have of them have not translated into convincing the key people in the society, decision makers and the policy makers, to invest more in mechanisms for reducing the underlying risk. Because all we have to do is reduce the underlying risk factors, the things that make people vulnerable. And we need to understand that more. I'll come back to that. But that's one of the factors that is causing, when we want to reduce disaster losses, it has major implications for development, because unless we reduce the underlying risk, that's going to continue to be the problem. The next thing I'd say is that new risks are emerging. We've just had to deal with COVID. We have to deal with climate change, which is now becoming one of the key things that's going to affect us going forward into the future. So new risks are constantly emerging. So therefore, we need to make sure that we have all these disaster risk management plans and protocols in place, and the team there ready to deal with what is happening.
Professor Robertson said that the disaster risk governance is weak. However, this is not only a problem in SVG, but in the region. Reflecting on the April 2021 volcano eruption response by the people, particularly those in the red zone, Professor Robertson said that people were still too reactive.
React to things still to a large extent, rather than doing things proactively. So despite, if we use St. Vincent, for example, it still amazes me that despite all that had been said prior to the explosive component of this eruption, that people were still unprepared for evacuation that became necessary. So I know of people who left without their packages packed, without their things ready for going into evacuation. So despite all of that, and we need to change that. We need to change it such that coping with hazards and factoring the hazard implications are part of the DNA of development. When we look at development, we want to sustain development. That's what we have to do going forward into the future.
Another observation made by Professor Robertson is that not many people could have afforded food and other emergency supplies as is needed when evacuating to shelters.
They were expected to come prepared to survive for a certain amount of time. They were expected to come to feed themselves for a certain amount of time. And I believe my understanding is that they didn't necessarily always do that. And the thinking was that they were, as I was saying, that it's maybe because they didn't translate their awareness to be prepared. But some of it had to do with social dynamics. So some of it had to do with that they're coming from regions which are areas in some instances which are very poor, and they just simply didn't have the resources to do that. So it means that if we're going forward, we need to factor that into the equation when we prepare for hazards, prepare for reaction, responding to hazards in the future, because it means that we can't assume that people can come and have the wherewithal to come with these things. Again, social dynamics important.
Meanwhile, Professor Robertson said that people in the red zone have to be convinced to ensure that they do not go back to the danger areas to live that have been deemed inhabitable. Professor Robertson said that hard decisions have to be made by people in leadership positions.
You need to find some way in which you bring along the people in terms of what you're doing and make sure they understand what they're exposing themselves to. That's one thing. Secondly, you need to be aware of where the hazards are. So if it is clearly you are exposed to certain kinds of natural processes, if you go and build in a certain area, I think as a government, as an agency that's responsible for development in the space, you have to say, there are certain places, I was talking about land use planning. You have to decide where people can or cannot build and can or cannot do certain kinds of activity. That's part of your leadership. That's part of your being in the position you are, whether you're working at planning or NEMO or whether you're a government minister. That's why you have to make decisions like that.
The scientist said it will not be an easy task to get people to buy into the idea, but pointed out that consequences for making choices must be clearly outlined.
Like you do, somebody still decides that they're going to go and live in an area that is clearly, maybe you have legislation that says they can't build in the Sierra River Valley. You have tried to enforce it, and still somebody goes back and go there. I think you have to try to find ways in which you make it clear to them that if they do that, they're doing it at their own risk. I think one of the issues that we have in the region is that despite what we say, despite what governments say and do, governments often for a lot of us, government is the insurance agent in a sense. So that when something happens, people look to the government to bail them out. And I think increasingly governments have to make some hard decisions. I'm not saying not to bail out the people, but make sure that people are not going to put themselves into harm's way. So it means that you have to come up with creative ways of stopping that from happening. It might mean that, when you tell people they can't build in a certain area, if you move people from an area that's exposed to hazard, you have to find a way in which it makes it extremely difficult for somebody to go back there and build.
Professor Robertson, who was part of the team responsible for mapping the inhabitable areas in the red zone, recommends that tax breaks be used to encourage persons to rebuild elsewhere.
People options. You have to try to encourage. I think I made a point in one of my slides about trying to encourage efforts towards mitigation, towards risk avoidance. So for example, there are places in the world, I think New Zealand is one, where you get certain breaks tax breaks, for example, if you take certain measures. So for example, if you're in New Zealand, the insurance that insures people's property is what is helping to drive the science that makes the understanding of hazards known. So you get benefit tax breaks from taking certain mitigation actions. So you have to do a bit of the carrot and the stick. You have to encourage people, as well as you have to do some element of forcing. You have to make sure you have you have some scientific guidance in terms of the decisions you take. But sometimes you have to make hard decisions in terms of stopping people from making decisions that in the end harms them, and you then have to bail them out.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines will become the first in the Eastern Caribbean sub-region to utilize a new technology-based development Rapid Pro software for data collection. The Rapid Pro software was launched virtually today by the Ministry of National Mobilization in collaboration with UNICEF Eastern Caribbean and the Latin American Regional Office. Communication and Marketing Officer in the Ministry of National Mobilization, Phil Jeffers, said that with the recent eruption of La Soufrière volcano, which resulted in the displacement of close to 20,000 people, the initial assessment by UNICEF discovered data as one of the key impediments in the response efforts. Hence, they saw the need to embark on the data collection project.
From the perspective of service providers and beneficiaries, although data has been collected since the crisis began, the utilization of the said data remains low. The actors continually request information that is accurate, reliable, and presented in real time. UNICEF's Eastern Caribbean Area, the ECA office, with support from the Latin American Caribbean Regional Office, LACRO, will support the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to implement the project to update data on the displaced population. The project will assist in the delivery of rapid and real-time information to and from the affected population. This morning, ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason why we are here to launch officially Rapid Pro in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Mobilization, Catherine De Freitas, said today marks the start of a great opportunity for all Vincentians to be engaged in a data collection process which will allow their voices to be heard.
Partner with UNICEF in the aftermath of the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano in April this year. This partnership not only provided tangible on-the-ground support, but further added technical support. Technical support came in the form of assistance with data collection, support for persons who were affected by the evacuation process, and financial support to all those as well. Today we launch another tool that will allow this ministry to not only gather data but analyze and provide real-time responses to the flows that are being developed through the process. The staff of the ministry would continue to experience training development from UNICEF, which will allow for further ownership of this process at the local level. In my capacity as the Permanent Secretary, I wish to thank UNICEF for providing this support and pledge my ministry's support to continue the use of this application to further enhance the work of the ministry.
Representative of UNICEF, Dr. Aloys Kumurashi, said that UNICEF is happy to support the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in its recovery response.
Rapid Pro is a software used for real-time monitoring and feedback that governments and development partners use to connect, engage, and collaborate directly with program beneficiaries. Used in over 30 countries worldwide, Rapid Pro assists UNICEF and its partners to drive a powerful youth engagement tool called U-Report, which was also introduced to St. Vincent and the Grenadines and other OECS countries 2 months ago. The Rapid Pro technology is also used to run EduTalk, a tool used to improve the learning environment for children around the world.
7 Caribbean films are set to screen in Lublin, Poland on October 30th as part of their ongoing partnership with the Dimashki Film Festival, which started in 2020. Among the films to be shown in the Caribbean Voices film segment are 3 short films that shed light on environmental climate in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Grassmen, a film about the growth in the prisoner rehabilitation program led by Vonnie Rudet. Beyond the Ashes, an experimental film on the 1979 eruption of the La Soufrière volcano, and the 1979 La Soufrière eruption, an animated production of Maxwell Tadjo Francis' poem 1979 La Soufrière eruption. This year marks the 2nd time that the Women's Film Festival, an annual event held in Poland, has partnered with the Hiruna Film Festival in SVG, which shares similar goals by providing residents and the general population with free unticketed access to film production. They also support community building, women empowerment, and are coordinated and curated by a core team of women activists, organizers and creatives. This year, films from Barbados, Guadeloupe, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago are also included in the October 30th lineup. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College has announced Saturday, October 30th to Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021 as its admissions period for prospective students wishing to apply for full-time study at the college divisions of Arts, Sciences and General Studies or its Division of Technical and Vocational Education for the academic year 2021-2022. The SVG Community College offers 21 associate degrees, 20 CAPE subjects and 4 certificate programs for full-time enrollment at its DTVE and DASGS. The college also offers additional full-time and part-time certificate, associate, bachelor's and master's programs at its other divisions through partnerships with other educational institutions. The college has also announced that the application fee will be waived for applicants who are partially or fully vaccinated. In some police news now, we hear that the police have launched an investigation into a report of arson made by a 32-year-old barber of Belair against an unknown person or persons. According to the investigation, the assailant or assailants, without lawful excuse, destroyed the complainant's concrete dwelling house and its contents valued at $24,144 by setting fire to the same. The incident occurred in Belair at about 8 a.m. on October 23rd. The police have also launched an investigation into a report of robbery made by a 26-year-old unemployed female of Brighton against some unknown person or persons. The police say 3 masked men armed with a firearm robbed the complainant of a number of items with a total value of $3,347 and at the same time of doing so put the complainant in fear. Information that can assist with these investigations are persons who have information that can assist with these investigations are asked to contact the Deputy Commissioner at telephone number 4512467 or the officer in charge of the South Central Division at 1784-458-4200 or any police station or police officer that you are comfortable with. All information, the police say, will be treated confidentially. Meanwhile, the police have arrested and charged Oli Shot, a 40-year-old unemployed of Belair, with the offences of damage to property and assault. According to the investigation, the accused allegedly, without lawful excuse, damaged one 3x3 glass and aluminum window valued at $300, two glass and wooden doors valued at $500 EC, and one black t-shirt valued at $30 by smashing the items with an unknown object and ripping the t-shirt with his hands. Total value $1,330, the property of a 30-year-old complainant of the same address. The accused was further charged for assaulting the said complainant by raising a hammer at her head at Belair on Sunday, October 24th. Jack is expected to appear before the Serious Offences Court to answer to the charges.